White coming in, dives, and makes the play in center field.
Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. We talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, I'm pleased to have a former player that I've seen, although he's still with the Blues right now. He's been with them for about 6 or 7 games. Also formerly of URI, the University of Rhode Island, Austin White. Austin, thanks so much for being able to come on, man.
Thank you very much for having me.
First and foremost, I mean, there's a lot that we're going to break down in the next 15 or 20 minutes or so, but I just want to ask, you were telling me about how your father is getting ready to retire after serving over 30 plus years as a police officer. And just want to say, God bless him and thank him for me for all the service that he's done.
I certainly will. I appreciate that. He's excited. It's a double-edged sword almost because he loves it so much, but at the same time, he's ready to do whatever he wants. He wants to move down south, hopefully to the Florida area. They're thinking probably maybe Sarasota, somewhere down there, but he's ready to go.
So let's see. Okay, so Florida, let me see. The Phillies have a minor league complex down there. I know the Yankees have a minor league Tampa. I know we're going to talk about the draft later, but that's not a bad spot if you want to watch the sun.
Not at all. I mean, I've been past the Phillies spring training spot down there. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah, man, I don't think anybody would, but we'll talk about the draft in a little bit. I kind of just want to go over a little bit as far as just what got you into the game of baseball, because there's just, in the time that I watched you play with the Blues, and I saw you for a long, it was a great summer to be able to watch the team. And again, we'll go over that later, but I just want to know kind of what attracted you to the game of baseball.
Actually, when I first started playing sports, I was a big basketball guy. And I used to shoot hoops outside all the time with my friends, my family, and I just found a passion for it. But then one day, my mom, being a mom, just brought home a wiffle ball and a wiffle ball bat, and we just took hacks outside. I was probably like 4 or 5 at this point, just smacking balls over her head, making her chase and making Dad go get them from the woods and all that stuff. And then I'd say as I got older, I just found a niche for it. It was just, in a sense, easy for me. It was fun too, meeting all these kids in my schools and everything, learning more about them as well, and teaching myself how to play better as well as my teammates, because my dad was actually one of my coaches in Little League, and it was a blessing and a curse at the same time, obviously. If you have your bad games, your dad's going to get in on you. And if you do anything wrong on the field, he has no problem taking you out of the game and putting somebody else that'll do the job in. And that helped me learn a lot as I grew up and developed as a baseball player. So I probably say my family and my friends really pushed me to become the baseball player I am today.
As you were growing up, and I know you talked about how your father was your coach early on, was there anything that he either taught you or maybe just kind of mold a little bit with you as far as your talent that has carried over into what you are today?
The biggest thing he taught me, and it's for baseball and outside of it as well, is you got to fail before you succeed. And at a young age, I was pretty good for my age, and I think I was probably one of the better kids on the team every time. So I told myself, like, oh, it's going to be a breeze when I grow up. Like, it's going to be easy. So as years go by, I start to struggle a little, and it frustrates me to a point where, like, I don't want to do this anymore, because I thought I was God's gift to a point where I shouldn't have these problems. I shouldn't be striking out, making errors, all that stuff. And then he told me, you have to have your peaks and your valleys, because you can't be great all the time. And once you learn how to fail, you can be comfortable at it and learn from it. And nowadays it's pretty nice to see that I'm stress-free, anxiety-free on the baseball field, in the classroom. Like, whatever happens, it's because of me. And I can fix that or just sit down and do nothing about it. And that's the great thing about baseball. You don't get 10 ABs in a season to either make or break you. You have probably 150 to 200 at-bats in a college season, which you can depict yourself and see, oh, what did I do here? What can I fix? Or, oh, I should do this, keep doing this. And it's really great to see that. Um, so like my big thing for young kids is just, if you mess up, good. You need to mess up. You need to learn from your mistakes, because if you can't do that, you're not going to be able to play at the best level you think you can.
At what age did you struggle as much as what you said? Because I think, I think of, prospects who have been touted the next one, the next great one. They never struggled in the minor leagues. They go to the show, they struggle, they don't know how to handle it, and then within a couple of years, they're out of the game. I could speak, although I won't give names, of kids that I played with, kids that I coached against when I was coaching a couple of years ago as the pitching coach, who I thought, wow, this kid's talented. Or the players I played with, wow, these guys are good. Like how can they not have a chance to play in the show? But then they don't make it because it's all about the mental aspect. So what age did you start to go through that, and how did you overcome that?
So I was actually lucky. In high school, I really didn't have the problem. I played in the Shoreline Conference, which at some points was a pretty strong conference in Class S baseball, but then other times it wasn't. So my whole high school career, I excelled pretty well for the most part, but it was definitely my freshman year of college when it like hit me like a rock, because I got my first start as a D1 athlete at URI, and it was the most nerve-wracking thing in the world. Um, it was, yeah, our schedule was opening up with Texas A&M, and a 2-week trip down to Florida playing the University of Florida when they were ranked 1 in the country, and then we went to Stetson. So we were all over the place playing the best of the best. And by the time my freshman season ended, I batted like 217 with like 30 strikeouts, not a lot of walks. And I was just sitting there like at home during the summer thinking like, am I going to be able to do this? Like I got to juggle classes in the springtime, try to play well enough to start all the time. Like, can I do this for the rest of my life? And that's when I like took a step back, took a deep breath, and told myself, you're learning. You're 18 years old. There's so much talent that has not been used yet. Like I put too much pressure on myself, and I just got to stop doing that. So come my sophomore year is when I really truly like became that happy-go-lucky player, and I was very comfortable with everything. If I grounded out, I grounded out. If I struck out, I struck out. I learned from it, and it was great because my teammates started to see that how comfortable I was for being so young and coming off a pretty struggled season, how easy it came to me when I figured out that you have to simplify things, especially how hard baseball is. You don't need to make it harder than it already is. So I think I batted like 298, got all conference that year. And then I was like, obviously, I'll never settle for anything. So it just opened my eyes to a point where, like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. This is how you play baseball. And from there, I've been that kid ever since.
I almost feel like going through the struggles as you did early on was beneficial, because if that happened to you at the middle of the season, you really don't have a lot of time to adjust. But I
Mm-hmm.
think going up against, you mentioned Florida, you mentioned Stenson. Now, I don't remember if they had, for Florida, if they had Puck and Kowar and Singer, if Stenson had Logan Gilbert at the time. Maybe you could help me with that. But I think going through those kind of schools at the time, which had and have had a lot of talented arms that come through their program, kind of gives you a glimpse of, if I want to be the best, I need to go up against these projected top round, first, second, third round kind of arms if I feel like I have a chance to play at the show at the next level.
Oh, yeah. I think Friday night against UF, that's when Brady Singer pitched against us. I played the Sunday night game, but just watching him, it was like I couldn't believe it. Like I'll never see pitching like this at the college level, and I don't know how long. And it was just amazing to see. But at the same time, me being on the bench, I was scared at the same time, a little nervous, but at the same time, I wanted to be like, coach, I need an at bat. I need to see what I'm capable of. So when I got to play Sunday night in right field, it was like I was in heaven. And I found out throughout the whole series, like, we're all the same kids here. We all play Division One baseball. Anybody can be anybody at any given certain time. That's the best part about it. And once you learn that, you don't care where you go, whether if we played Vanderbilt to Sacred Heart, anyone, if you can play baseball like productively, have chemistry, you can be any team you want. And I think that's the best part about traveling to all these strong schools, Power Five schools, because they might think one way, like, oh, who's URI? I've never heard of them, and get lackadaisical, and then boom, you surprise them with a win here and there or a series win. Like, I want to bring up the fact that this year we played Old Dominion, who went deep in the tournament this year, who's one of the top hitting teams in the country all year long. And we gave them, I think they lost 3 or 4 series this year, and one of them was against us. And it was our second series the whole season. So that just shows you, like, anybody can beat anybody at any given moment of time. And yeah, it was like a great season this year. It stunk how it ended, but I think we all put it all out there. So that's all we can ask for.
It's also great for a program like URI, and you mentioned, and you could mention so many other programs as far as maybe not being in the Power Five, but you think of like Oral Roberts for men's basketball, a team like that. I mean, not even them, but just think of how many high seeds, 8, 9, 10, 11 were making it far in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. For baseball, Old Dominion. I think, what was it? Jacksonville was another one. There was Dallas Baptist. Not very well known. I mean, as far as you would think for Omaha. As far as their length, but just I feel like going up against a Power Five school, and like for you, going up against the Power Fives, and for the program itself, it's great because it kind of not only showcases what you have to do, but also too, if you take a series from a Florida, from a Texas A&M, from an LSU, from whatever, it not only piques the interest of scouts, because scouts are at all those games because they know they could be looking at a projected number one or a first round pick. But furthermore, it also helps the opponent like yourself, because now, hey, this kid we don't know much about, but he went 8 for 10 against 3 pretty good arms against Texas A&M. Let's watch him and let's see how he progresses.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It also gets us ready for conference play, honestly, because I don't want to be the bad guy saying this, but obviously we're not playing Florida when we're playing in the A10 conference. But when we play teams like that, it makes you lock in more, makes you understand the game more. And when that happens, like, only good things happens during the conference, like playing against Dayton. They're a strong team, but when we have all that knowledge from playing Texas A&M or LSU or whoever, you feel more comfortable. It's more smooth just playing baseball in your conference when you're not really going to see those very dominant, just complete game first rounder arms. It's just you're more comfortable in a sense. Like, I'm not bashing the A10 conference, obviously, but they know where I'm coming from when I say that.
Oh, 100%. I think there's a big difference between the A10 and the SEC. I mean, there's no need to sugarcoat it. It's the truth. You know what I mean? But, looking more so at yourself, Austin, now you had a great, first couple years. And then I kind of want to know, as far as what led you to Bristol. I mean, how did Brian Rooney, my buddy, how did he reel you in to playing for the Bristol Blues? Because that 2019 team, man, that was a team that I will never forget for as long as I live, broadcaster or when I retire, hopefully 50 years down the road. But just knowing how that team was put together, and that has Brian Rooney's fingerprints all over it.
I mean, I miss that team so much. A bunch of great dudes. I saw Buddy Dwayne actually um, a little while ago, but he's doing good right now. He's just working out, doing his own thing. But yeah, actually, Shane Bogley, if you don't remember who that is, one of our bullpen guys.
He went to Westfield, right?
That's correct.
Yep.
Um, we're great friends. I text him every day. He actually picks me up for the games, home games and everything. So great guy. Shout him out. I texted him because my Coastal Carolina coach wanted me to either play summer ball when I officially committed there or come down early this summer down to campus and start working out there. And I told myself I wanted to stay here as long as possible to just be with my friends, family until I'm off a little farther than being at URI. So when I texted Shane, I'm like, hey, how's your outfielders on the Blues? He goes, oh, they're pretty good. You know, Mark Coley's here, Teddy Haig, Andy Haig's older brother from UConn. They're all strong. Sadly, Teddy got injured. I think he had hamstring problems, which is the worst. But he talked to Jordy, one of the assistants, and soon enough, I get a call from Jordy saying, hey, you want to play? I mean, we have a spot for you if you want it. I mean, I'm not telling you you're going to be a starter every day, but I mean, if you mash the baseball, you're going to stay in the lineup. Obviously, if you do what you got to do in the outfield, you'll stay in the lineup. But there's a spot for you if you need some reps. And I was like, why not? I feel like the people of Bristol missed me, and it'd be a funny surprise when they hear batting first from Coastal Carolina, Austin White. So that was kind of cool to always hear, and I was excited to do it. And I'm glad to be playing outfield with Mark Coley again, and this might be the last time for a while, unless something crazy happens. But it's always nice to see him and be able to play with my former teammates as much as possible.
Now, Coley, if I remember right, he played for Pittsfield, correct, in 2019?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he's a specimen.
He's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, exactly. Because every time, and I'm sure you could speak to this, every time he came to Bristol, he raked. I mean,
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember in the All-Star game, because I went up there to watch and to represent Bristol and such to help you guys and all that. He mashes the ball, and I just think, thinking about kind of, and it's weird because not even weird, but that's what makes baseball so beautiful, because you have two outfielders, both yourself and Coley. Coley is taller, lean, but he's wiry. He's wiry strong. And he's got a lot of oomph in the bat, and he's also got a good arm. And then you look at yourself, you're not as tall, you're skinny. I mean, again, same thing, but you also, I think, can do a little bit, you're a little bit more disciplined than him. He's trying to hit the ball as hard as he can every swing, where you're more disciplined. You'll spin at that pitch 2 inches off, where Coley will swing at it trying to hit a double to the opposite field. What I'm trying to get at is that's what makes baseball so beautiful, that you have two different kind of styles of play, but they both work in complete syncrasy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I love it. I mean, I feed off of his thoughts and ideas into my game, and he feeds off of mine, and it's beautiful because the things, once he gets those small things together, he can be one of the probably best players in the NECBL, if not minor league baseball. And I hope to God he gets that chance to really show his stuff there. Yeah, it's just awesome to see him excelling at something that a lot of people didn't think he could because of the high school he went to, the college he went to, just like myself. But he can put up numbers and he can be that guy. And I believe in him 100%.
Now, I just want to talk about the 2019 team real quick with Bristol before we get into the 2020 team. The 2019 team, I remember at the beginning of the season, it was rough. There was not a lot of wins. But then I remember the Blues went on a pretty big win streak. And during that time, it was when players were starting to get switched in and out. I remember Jack Moore was left early because of an injury. There was Arjun Thakkar. He left because of an injury. Ryan Locke left, I think, towards the end of the season because he hit his innings limits because he was coming back from Tommy John. And then there was other players as well kind of getting in and out as far as the lineup was concerned. And I don't want to say somehow in a rude way, but no matter who came in, they did their job. And it just seemed like the Blues just kept rolling. And then you had the magical run all the way until the championship. And even though it didn't end the way that myself, Bristol, and the players wanted to end, it was one of probably the best years that the Bristol franchise has ever had because of the adversity that you guys dealt with. So I want to ask you, as somebody who was there every single day, played the games, was with the guys, what made that team so special and so consistent?
I have to say, it was honestly the locker room talk and the chemistry. We were so comfortable with each other, and the fact that's why I love summer ball, because you meet all these new people, and obviously playing baseball, you can't, it's not an individual sport. So it kind of forces you to talk to other people, but at the same time, it really didn't force us to do anything we didn't want to do, because all the guys were awesome, like Danny Roth, all of them were just amazing people. Kyle Maves, um, who's on the Waves, the Ocean State Waves this year. But as I was saying, it was just the fact that from the pitchers in the bullpen to everybody, all the position players, we could talk to anybody, have a conversation, just enjoy our time. And I think that's what made everybody comfortable, whether or not they were playing that day or not. They knew if Buddy Dwayne was playing third base instead of Kyle Maves, he was going to do a job, vice versa. And that was the best part, because we had each other's backs. And that's the amazing part about summer ball that honestly surprises me, that the closeness and the almost family you create in that one season. It's not a 4-year college season where you're going to see the same guys every day for 4 years. It's one 45 to 60 game season that, in a sense, doesn't really matter in some people's eyes, but you become so close with the players, you start to care more, and you start to take it like school ball. And that team was just, we were very carefree, I'll be honest. We should have won a lot more games than we actually did. But I remember coming to the end of the regular season, or I think it might have been playoffs, when we were away at North Shore. We were down 7-0.
Yep.
And we told each other, like, okay, I guess this is it. We're going home. Like, we said our goodbyes. This was probably the 4th or 5th inning. So this was like a bad look. But then we started scoring runs. And at that time, it's like the 7th inning. It's 4-7. And then Buddy looks at us, and I look at him, he goes, I mean, might as well win the game. I think we end up winning that game like 14-7.
Yeah.
And then it's like, that's baseball. Like, it was just funny because it was us too. Like, we knew how good we were, and obviously it stunk when we lost, but we know how to win baseball games. And that's, I feel like, what we figured out during the midway and during the end of the season.
It also helped too that he had, I'm forgetting the pitcher's name. He went to Woodland too, as far as the high school, and he went to Post, who came in relief of Matt Shank from Central. And you could probably help me with the name from the player from Post. You remember?
I know the face. I'm picturing him now. I can't remember the name. I'll have to go in my old group chat to find out, but
we apologize. But whoever, I know he went to Woodland High School and he went to Post, but he came in relief and kind of settled things down, because I was watching that whole game, because I was preparing notes hoping for a game 3, because people may forget, if nobody remembers, and everybody has a short mind sometimes. The Blues lost the first game, which Fiello threw. It was a tough game, very close game, but just came up short. Game 2, as you mentioned, big deficit, started to chip away. The pitcher from Post kind of kept you guys in the game long enough in order for you guys to be able to get the lead back, which you did. And then you had Mr. Money himself, Andrew Moreno, just shut it down. And you talk about I mean, you talk about a midseason acquisition. He wasn't even a midseason. It was one of those swipe deals by Rooney to be able to get him and Co, who I felt like became college pitchers in the FCBL after their first couple starts because they got their feet wet and really understood. And really, too, and credit also goes to, the fact that you guys were able to trust them because you threw them into the fire.
Oh yeah, I'm very proud of those guys, especially when they um, are now being successful pitchers at UConn.
Yep.
Being thrown in the fire like that in playoff games and regular season games, just out of nowhere, just joining a team. It's hard. It's hard to really put your foot down and do the best you can, and they did that. And it's the best when you see Moreno running to the mound, and you just know like we're winning this game. Like that's the best feeling. It's the most comfortable feeling from your players to know that he's going to lock up and he's going to do what he has to do.
How was it too seeing a pitcher like Fiello, who found out he had cancer and still was pitching? And it's not like he was throwing 50 miles an hour. He was still hitting high 80s to low 90s. I mean, I talked to his father regularly throughout the season, and great family, great kid. And it amazes me to this day he did not win Pitcher of the Year in the FCBL. I still do not understand it. I mean, that could have been a prime opportunity for the FCBL to not just gain publicity, but give it to a kid who was beating cancer and still pitching and pitching effectively. You were in center field when he was pitching. Were you just sitting? I don't want to say sitting back, but were you kind of just like, how is this kid doing this?
It was really mind blowing because a couple games in, I'd say during the season, I really didn't know about it. So obviously he'd throw, and then the next couple games he wouldn't be there. Obviously, in my head, I was like, all right, he's a starting pitcher. He doesn't have to come to the games. So then when I found this out, I was like, oh my goodness, shouldn't he like focus on that first? Like that's definitely number one priority. And then, like it or not, next away game he's starting. I'm like, now it's in the back of my head as he's striking out everybody, making them ground out, fly out to me. I'm like, these kids have no idea what's happening right now, and it's just amazing. And God bless him. I'm glad he's healthy. He looks great. He's been doing pretty well for us as of now. And like you said, he is a great kid. He means very well to me, and he'll always be in my corner. And he knows he has someone to talk to at all times. And I'm so proud of him for overcoming this because a lot of people don't. It's very hard. And like you said, it would have been a lot of publicity for him to be pitcher of the year, which I think he does still deserve, regardless of the circumstances or not. But it's the fact that he did that under all that heat, and all he had to do was just give in, not play baseball, and focus on that. But instead, he did both, and God bless him for that.
Now, I want to hit on what you've done with the Blues this year in the short time that you've been with them thus far. And before we started this, you were telling me how you had a conversation with a UConn player who gave you probably the biggest compliment that you could remember to date. If you would be willing to share that, because I think that's something that people would love to be able to hear.
Yeah, so Sunday we took a nice trip to Martha's Vineyard, where I didn't think I would ever go again, but I did. It was a pretty nice trip for the most part. We got back at 3:00 in the morning, nothing to worry about. I have to get used to it if I play at the next level. So fingers crossed.
Minus road trips.
Yep, fingers crossed. I get to my hotel room at 4 a.m. all the time. But yeah, I was just sitting on the tarp at Martha's Vineyard with Christian Fedko, who goes to UConn. We've played against each other a lot. We've grown to like each other. Obviously, summer ball, you got to click with your teammates. And he was sitting next to me telling me some things about how I play baseball and how he plays baseball, just a regular conversation. Then he brought up the fact that he said that I could I could and should be playing at the minor league level right now. And it was, it almost froze me up a little. I mean, it's humbling to hear that from somebody who's been playing against you for a while, who doesn't really know you but knows you. Um, and it was just really nice to hear it from somebody, not my parents or my coaches or my advisor who's trying to sell me to the best of his ability. It's from a kid who I playing on a team for the first time ever in my life, and to hear that, it's very nice to know like I'm doing the right things and I'm putting my best foot out there, being the best version of myself. And it was just I it was just hard to like wrap my head around it, to be honest, because it was the last thing I expected him to say. But I feel like it just got us closer as friends for hopefully the rest of our lives, to be honest. And it was just very nice to hear, and I appreciate him.
I think the draft starting to ever inch closer. I mean, right? I mean, the College World Series could very well end tonight, or it could end tomorrow because Mississippi State has to win tonight against Vandy, or Vandy goes back to back. Now, 2020 didn't happen because of COVID, but after that, then you have the draft, which is just within, I think, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I think it's July 11th, if I remember right.
Mhm.
So, you know, knowing that that's coming close, and I'm sure you're able to separate the two. Once baseball has started, as far as the game, you're not thinking about, oh, potentially I could go here, I could go there. My advisor told me this. But has that maybe creeped into your mind, maybe during workouts, before you go to bed, while you're just relaxing in the car, just thinking about the potential of getting that phone call, regardless of the round, if you're drafted within the first 20 rounds?
It has settled in the back of my head a little. I've been walking outside lately thinking about it, and it's always nice to hear that something people didn't think I could do is possibly happening sooner than later. And I think that's the best part about it. Um, a lot of people didn't think I'd even play Division I baseball, mind you, possibly being a draft pick or a senior sign to play professional baseball. Um, it's very exciting and also kind of a little overwhelming, but not to a point where I hate it. Obviously, it's a lot to think about, and it's a lot for my parents to be excited for if it does happen. I can't wait to see my mom's face, and hopefully, my dad does cry because I keep track of how many times my dad has cried in his lifetime because it's not a lot. So if it happens and he does, I'll definitely mark it down. But no, for the most part, it's exciting. Whatever happens, happens for a reason, and I I really want to play baseball for the rest of my life, regardless of what level it's at. But if it doesn't happen, I'll figure something out. I'm very I I push forward, I push on. Um, obviously, like I said about the COVID year, the same deal. Um, things happen for a reason, so my fingers are crossed. I know my mom's praying every night, but yeah, it's just exciting stuff, and I'm ready to go wherever.
If I know anything about your parents, they were so nice, to me. I can only speak for myself, but they were only so nice during the broadcast year. I think it was your mom that would always tweet either at the Blues or myself when I would tweet something about the Blues. And I never got to speak to your dad, but hey, he's a tough guy if he doesn't cry that much. I mean, I don't cry much either, but I know they would be so thrilled if you get the opportunity to be able to have a chance. And even if you don't get drafted this year, because of the COVID year, you have that extra year and you can go play for Coastal, which is still an accomplishment because I know you were telling me about how that's kind of like where you wanted to go because you felt like maybe that was an opportunity and now you have a chance. If so, even if that door is not open yet for the draft, everything happens for a reason. Maybe you're meant to go to Coastal to prove it again. You may have to prove it the rest of your baseball career, but there's only so many times that you could hit 340, 350 before somebody says, all right, I need to stop being stupid. I need to get this kid into our organization. That's the way I view it.
I really appreciate that. And if I do this grad year, I'll be 22 years old all year. I'm still young, so I'm not worried about a thing.
Austin, I really do appreciate you coming on. I could talk to you forever. I know we went past 20 minutes. I apologize, but
No
you know,
worries.
your story is awesome. And I didn't get to talk to you too much as far as with Bristol because obviously I had a job to do and I had to make sure I made people in Bristol happy with the broadcast and all that. But it was great to be able to have you on the podcast. And I hope I'll be rooting for you as far as July 11th, you and the rest of the Blues players who have an opportunity to potentially get drafted. But I hope if you do get drafted, if you have about 5 minutes to spare, I'd love to get you back on. Even if you don't get drafted, I want to get you back on so that way we can preview your time with Coastal.
Sounds perfect. I really appreciate everything. Thank you for having me. This
No
is
problem.
awesome.
That'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent, and I'm on a journey to find them all. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.